Hi guys, so today we'll be solving this problem called check if a parenthesis string can be valid. So let's read the problem. A parenthesis string is a non-empty string consisting only of open and closing bracket. It is valid if any of the following condition is true. It is opening closing. It can be written as AB, A concatenated with B, where A and B are valid parenthesis strings. It can be written as A, where A is a valid parenthesis string. You are given a parenthesis string S and a string locked, both of length n. Locked is a binary string consisting only of zeros and ones for each index I of locked. If locked of I is 1, you cannot change S of I. If locked of I is 0, you can change S of I to either opening or closing. Return true if you can make S a valid parenthesis string, otherwise return false, right? Cool. So we've been given a string like this. So S is right. And we've been given a locked string as well, right? So 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, right? And we need to ensure that uh, we create or we are able to create a valid parenthesis string. So how is a valid parenthesis string formed? Basically, it should have a opening and a closing bracket, and both of them should, be together or also like, in the form of like this, right? Where there are a certain number of strings, but yeah, this is opening and closing at some point, right? So logged is basically denoting that we can change that character or not, or change that parenthesis or not. For example, at position 0 and at position 0, we have an opening braces, which means that I can definitely change it into a closing braces because it's not locked. But at position 1, I have a closing braces and I have 1 here, which means that I cannot change 1 to a closing braces, right? That is the idea. So let's understand this a bit better. Basically, how we'll do it is we'll have opening braces and closing braces, definitely, but we'll need to ensure that we have the correct number of opening and correct number of closing braces, right? So the intuition for solving this problem is that definitely, parenthesis problems, we use stack. That is something that comes up with, parenthesis problem. That's the first thing that comes up with the parenthesis problem on my mind. So I'll be using stack. And in that stack, I'll be using, I'll be making sure that I store the opening bracket and, when I'm getting a closing bracket, I pop that out from the stack, right? It's very simple. Like we have something like this where in the stack where I'm just storing that whenever I'm getting an opening braces and where I'm getting a closing braces, I pop this out. Basically, that is a valid parenthesis pair, right? So that is something like very simple. That is the most intuitive, approach of, solving this and breaking down into a simpler part of this problem, right? Simpler part of this problem, which is not requiring any locked string. So now the new constraint is adding a locked string in it, right? So locked string can have 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. So we need to make sure that we just not right away make this string invalid if we see like, inconsistent parentheses, but also like make sure that we have logged because consider locked string and using the values over there to make this into a valid parenthesis, right? So yeah, so normally we'll use this, but logged one will have a different array, right? So we'll know that something like unblocked. An unblock will store the places where we're actually allowed to unblock, right? So all the places which are having zeros will be essentially stored in that unblocked array. And for example, like in this place, I know that I can unblock this. And whenever I'm at, I'll when I'm at 0 position, I'll push that into the unblocked array, right? So I'll push that here. And when I'm reaching a closing braces, I'll check two places. First is I'll check if in the stack, if I have opening braces ready or not. If it is there, then I'll pop that out and that use that. Otherwise, I'll also check the unblocked one. So unblocked should have like a zero or some position in it so that I can use that as, to make it a valid parenthesis, right? And I'll keep on going and doing this until I reach the end of the string, right? So at every position, whenever I have a zero, locked, I'll push it in the unblocked array, and whenever I get an open parenthesis, I have two options. First of all, whenever I have open parenthesis I'll anyway push it into the stack. So if there are two things, right? So if unblocked, right? So I'll directly push it into the stack of unblocked, right? If not unblocked, but it is an open parenthesis, so I'll push it into the stack of uh, the normal stack, basically, that what which is for valid parenthesis, this one, right? Uh, and if not unblocked, right, and it is a closing parenthesis. So I have two options here. So either I can pop the normal bucket, normal, sorry, normal stack, or I can pop the unblocked stack, right? I can use either of them, right? Uh, Preferably, I'll first of all check in the normal stack if there is an opening basis. Otherwise, I'll check the unblocked, right? That is the idea. And we will basically, just iterate through this entire string and keep on doing this until we hit the end. And once we hit the end, I have to make sure that I have nothing in the normal stack and nothing in the unblocked stack as well, right? And I know that if at any point I have something in the unblocked, right, which is uh, which like basically if I have something in the normal array, a normal stack, and an unblocked stack, I have to make sure that all of them is out of or like basically empty. And one quick way would be to checking the indexes, which I'll explain it when I'm coding, but that's an edge case to be considered. But yeah, that is the idea. Like, just go through the string, put it in the normal stack. If it can't be, if it is blocked, then put it in the normal stack. If it is unblocked, I keep it in the unblocked stack, and I pop that out in the end. And if there's a closing braces, I check if a normal stack has anything, has an opening braces, then I pop that out. If not, then I check the unblocked stack. If that has an unblocked string, then I pop that out and basically use it. Popping that out means using it. If neither of that, then I return false, because that's an inconsistent string, right? So one thing more to note is that a string is consistently parenthesis, like if it's a valid parenthesis if it's even number of characters, right? So if the size is even, then only I can make it into a valid parenthesis. For example, like this, right? So I don't have any opening braces, right, to cover. So it's not even. It's the length is 3. So which means it's odd, and I just return false for those string, right? So let's get to the coding part in order to understand this a bit better. Yeah. Let's get to the coding part. So first of all, I'll have s.size, which is maintaining the size of the string, and size modulo 2, if it's equal to 1, then return false for it, that it's an odd size string, right? Then, as I said, I maintain two stacks. So one is open bracket, which will be normal stack and also an unblocked stack, right? And I'll iterate through the size as string, right? So first of all, I'll check if the locked of I equal to 0, then it's unblocked basically, right? So I can just push it into unblocked, right? I can push the I in unblocked, right? Else if, you know, else actually I can check if s of I equal to um, basically an opening bracket. So if that's the condition, then I'll push it into the open bracket stack, right? Else if else if s of I equal to closing bracket, then I'll do something, right? So I had three options as I told you. So first is if open bracket is empty, right? Is not empty basically, right? So if that's the case, then I just pop the opening bracket and use that, right? Else if unblocked is empty, right? If that's the condition, then like basically it's not empty, right? So unblocked dot pop, I'll use that, right? Else I'll just return false, right? And that is the idea. Keep on doing this until the end of the string. And in the end, as I said, I'll just check if open bracket is empty, and then uh, unblocked is empty, is not empty basically, right? And one more thing. So this is the edge case that I was talking about. If open bracket dot top is less than unblocked dot top, right? Um, so using this, we'll just pop this out wherever until we hit the conditions and unblocked dot pop. So let's come to this condition, right? What I said. So open bracket is less than unblocked dot top, right? So which means that the normal stack, so whatever, so if you realize I was storing the indexes, right? And if the normal stack is always storing what? It's always storing the opening braces. And unblocked is, can be storing opening braces, closing braces, depends, right? So we are assuming that, you know, open bracket dot top, right? So it's always like opening bracket. So open bracket should always be smaller than the unblocked top. If that is the condition, then only I can pop it out, right? Then only I can pop it out from the stack. If not, then that's a problem, right? That becomes an inconsistent string and I can't solve it. So that's the condition. If open bracket is still not empty, right? Empty, then I just return false. And uh, in the end, I just return true that, hey, all the conditions have been satisfied and that's perfect. Let's run the code to see if everything is working fine. That works. Cool. I hope you guys understood the problem. Thank you so much.